time. But let's move on through the news because, of course, the other big hit at the moment is what's happening in the financial world.
So, David, let's start off with pensions.
Sorry. So this is a sort of segue from MHRA in a way. The Financial Times reports that the plan is to raise UK state pension age to 68. It's going to be delayed due to falling life expectancy. Why, I wonder, is life expectancy falling? Now, the political aspect of this explaining is that they've removed the cap for very well-paid people having pension contributions. It's no longer limited, tax-free at $1 million. It's essentially unlimited now. And to, in the same week, announce that ordinary working people are going to have to work longer before receiving the state pension, was going to play badly. So the Conservative government have decided to push that back to after the election for entirely political reasons. But two things here. One, the state pension is currently sitting at 100 billion expenditure. It's going to go up to 140 billion, and this is creating huge strains on the state to pay for this. They are being forced to make the state pension age later and later. That's going to create political problems. But I thought the most interesting part of that is the fact that life expectancy is falling, and there's no, apart from COVID, pointing at COVID, there's no explanation or study or analysis as to why. Nobody seems to care.
Indeed, that is a very good point. So let's then move on to inflation, of course, because this is the big financial news of the day. Now, we've got to remind ourselves that Rishi Sunak has made one of his 5 great plans to halve inflation. So having inflation this year to ease the cost of living. This is his aim in the run-up to the next general election. So, well, is he succeeding? Well, perhaps not. Here's the latest statistics from the Office for National Statistics, and the Consumer Prices Index rose to 10.4% in the 12 months to February 2023 from 10.1 in January. So that is making the government and the Bank of England a bit sad, maybe. The Consumer Prices Index, including owner-occupiers' housing costs, that's CPIH, rose by 9.2% in the 12 months to February 2023, up from 8.8% in January. So these are just two different measures of inflation. Here's the main reason for it. So this graph, the light blue line, shows food and non-alcoholic beverages. And we can see that the inflation rate for food, which, remember, everybody needs, we can't live without it, is now just under 20%. It's about 18.1% or so. This is well above the headline rate of 10%. And completely ridiculous. But in the meantime, energy is the other main driver. And the light blue, this is various measures of household expenditure. And the light blue, the sort of turquoise color, is energy. And you can see that the proportion of energy is huge compared to other household expenditure. And that, David, is very, very strange, because if we look at the wholesale prices of energy, let's just run through a few graphs here. So here's the day ahead price, because remember, you buy energy in the future. So if we're buying energy tomorrow, this was the graph from the 21st of March for the day ahead price for wholesale gas. Well, we can see that it's actually fallen quite significantly from the highs of August last year, August, September last year. But we're not seeing that in the inflation figure. So the retail price isn't coming down at the rate that the wholesale price has been coming down. If we look at the price of gas if you want to buy gas for summer 2023, very similar picture, well off the highs of August last year. Same for buying gas for winter 2023. So what is the energy company's excuse for this? Let's look at electricity, and it's exactly the same picture. The highs of August last year were well below those, but yet the energy inflation is still a major driver of inflation. If this is for summer 23, if you're buying electricity for summer this year, well down from the highs of last year, and if you're buying for winter So that's an issue that needs to be dealt with, and it's very, very common amongst energy, whether it be household energy of gas and electricity, or in fact, oil-based energy for your, for petrol for your car, whatever. They're very quick to put the prices up. They're very slow to bring the prices back down again at the retail level. And of course, the excuse that they use is, well, when we bought the energy for April, May 2023, it was at those peaks. I'm sorry, I don't buy it, but anyway, we can talk about that a bit more in a second. Here's what Jeremy Hunt had to say. Inflation itself is itself destabilizing. It's not an answer to say we're suddenly going to change our minds and say that it's acceptable to have a rate of inflation that is as destabilizingly high as 10%. He said the speed of interest rate rises is the root of the cause of the volatility we've seen in recent months. And then speaking about the governor of the Bank of England, I only ever say to him, please do what you think is necessary, as you're legally bound to do under the Bank of England Act. So there you go, David. Energy prices, food, the key elements in the rise in inflation. But don't worry, when the Bank of England decides that it's going to raise interest rates tomorrow, it's because it's legally obliged to under the Bank of England Act. But what was he saying? The speed of interest rate rises is the root cause of the volatility, nothing to do with the speed of money printing.
Oh no, nothing to do with the speed of money printing, nothing to do with their policy over COVID, the policy reaction to the COVID issues, and nothing to do with the vast creation of money. And they're caught out again. A couple of quick points on that. The head of the Bank of England is formally a civil servant, and he does report to the Treasury Department. So the oversight that the government's given the Bank of England is, you do what you like, lads. Whatever it is, it's fine with us. Really? Really? That's the oversight? That's a little bit alarming. And the people they're giving this power to, who don't appear to know why inflation's happening, don't appear to be able to predict it. I was just looking at their Twitter account. They didn't even mention that inflation went up. It's not on their Twitter account, but they do say at their sort of banner headline of who we are, as the UK's central bank, we work to ensure low inflation, trust in banknotes, and a stable financial system. So there we go. That's the team we're following. Right? They can't even have a Twitter banner that that's so inaccurate. That isn't so inaccurate. It's actually funny.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that, David. Well, just to rub all this in a bit, I thought it would be good just to have a little look at the Treasury itself to get a feel for it. So here's part of their homepage. HM Treasury is the government's economic and finance ministry, maintaining control over public spending, setting the direction of the UK's economic policy, and working to achieve strong and sustainable economic growth. I've got a question here. We'll just throw it into the air because we haven't got the time to answer this. But the question is, does the Treasury control the issuing and supply of money? If not, who does? But here's a bit more of the Treasury. So they list out their responsibilities, priorities, objectives, who we are, corporate information. We can't cover much today within the news, but I thought it'd be worthwhile to pop up responsibilities. So we've got public spending. We've got financial services. We'll put an arrow for that one, including banking and financial services regulation, financial stability, ensuring the competitiveness of the city. So we're going to look after the city corporate system, but we're also going to protect the country with regard to financial services policy.
I might say there's a conflict of interest there.
Thank you, Mike. Delivery of infrastructure projects across the public sector, ensuring the economy is growing sustainably, which of course it must be not at the moment. Priorities here, strong and sustainable growth, reducing deficit, rebalancing the economy. It's all great language. Let's just pick out creating stronger and safer banks here. So this looks good. We can trust these people. So we've got a bit about what we do here, which we've covered, but also the Treasury is a ministerial department supported by no less than 15 agencies and public bodies. So we might like to know who supports the Treasury. And this is just a taster for our audience, because here's some of the things listed. So we've got the actuaries department. You want control of the figures so that you can skew what the public believes in any way you like. We've got the internal audit agency. That's so you can cover up what you're doing in the first place. But let's just bring the arrow in again, because, oh my goodness, we've got something to do with money. So there's the Royal Mint Advisory Committee, and there's also the Royal Mint. But of course, the coins are a fraction of the so-called money in circulation. So we're not too sure who's controlling the money at this stage. And I just couldn't resist this one, the Bank of England, which you're really highlighting here. But it says the UK's Bank Resolution Framework has a clear statutory order in which shareholders and creditors would bear losses in a resolution or insolvency scenario. So that's what the Bank of England says, but I wasn't able to easily find what the detail of that statement was. But we're coming on to that in more detail for future UK column newses. David.
Yes, I mean, we're covering this obviously Monday, but we talked about using a Bank of England document to illustrate it, how money creation works, and the fact that 97% of broad money is created by the commercial banks. And that is controlled by the Bank of England. And this is what the Bank of England says about itself. It says we are wholly owned by the UK government. The capital of the bank is held by the Treasury solicitor on behalf of HM Treasury. Although we are owned by HM Treasury, we carry out our responsibilities independently. Figure that one out.
Well, hold on. Just before you move on, David, let's just figure that one out, because let's not forget that was the very first act of Tony Blair when he became Prime Minister.
Yeah, that was Gordon Brown's trust us because you can't trust us, but you can trust the Bank of England, so we'll make them independent. I said, we're free, and they go on, we're free from day-to-day political influence, okay? So, okay, they also say we're publicly owned. We are a public body that must answer to the people of the UK through Parliament. So they must answer to the people of the UK through Parliament, but they're free from political influence. I'm not sure how that works. They're owned by the state, but they're completely independent of the people who own them. I'm not sure how that works either. And they don't seem to get it right very often. We are sure how that works.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
We'll follow this through in more detail. But yeah, I think the picture's becoming clear because the picture is so murky of what these people do and say they do.
Okay, if you like what the UK column does, you'd like to support us, please head over to community.ukcolumn.org. There are options to help us out there. Now, we'd just like to say we are going to put the membership fees up in May, but not for current members. So if you join between now and the 1st of May, then you'll join at the current rate and stay on the current rate. So maybe this is a good time to join.
Indeed. And we'd just like to say that we haven't changed our annual or monthly subscription for over 10 years. And we think it's time that we did that. So we're making that statement now.
Okay, thank you. And or you can pick something up at the UK Column shop, but please do share anything you find on the various platforms. And don't forget the ukcolumn.org website itself. And also just remember also that Kenny is busy pushing out extracts from UK Column programming at ukcolumnextracts.co.uk. So if you want to share it on the various social media platforms, please head over there and have a look at what he's doing.
Okay. Well, Debi, perhaps you'd just like to give your good self a little bit of a plug, because your blog, as always, is doing great work.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Yes, my blog is a lot of the stories that sometimes I can't cover on the news. This week, I'm looking at pharmacists, community pharmacists, who they are. Do you know who you're talking to when you go into a pharmacy? Do they know who they're talking to? I mean, community pharmacists seem to be replacing GPs. So that and much more in my blog this week, including you might get a bracelet now to just warn you that you could be having a heart attack in the near future. Doesn't that sound reassuring?
Excellent.
Okay, thank you for that, Debi. Also a reminder about AV13. We've got the main hotel event for the day, the 22nd of October. 2023, so later this year. But also coming up 23rd of April, we've got the AV online, and of course UK column assisting the AV team in both these key events. So if you haven't got a ticket and you'd like to take part, I suggest you get onto the AV13 website, because those tickets are going very quickly.